So after the geological background, let us come to the main topic, that is relief features of India. So the Indian relief features is divided into 6 main divisions. Is divided into 6 main features. First one, the Himalayas. Second one, the Indo-Gangetic Plains. Third one, the Peninsular Plateau. Fourth one, the Coastal Plains. Fifth one, Thar Desert. And sixth one, islands. So these are the 6 main relief features of India. The Himalayas in the north, extreme north, the Indo-Gangetic Plains, the Peninsular Plateau, the Coastal Plains, the Thar Desert, and the islands. So these are the 6 important relief features of India. So first we'll discuss the major relief feature, that is Himalayas. Right. So Himalayas. Himalayas are located in the northern part of India, extending from west to east in an arc shape. Right. So these Himalayas are located in the northern part of India, extending from west to east, right, in an arc shape. The longitudinal distance is 2400 kilometers. Means from west to east. Okay, if I just check it out, I'll just draw here. I'm just drawing the northern part of India. Okay. Okay. So if you look at here, the northern part of India here. Okay. So the northern part of India. So what it says, right? So they are extending from west to east, that too in an arc shape. So this is the arc shape. Right, they are formed in a arc shape, right, from west to east, and the longitudinal distance of Himalayas is 2400 kilometers, and where in the west the width is 500 kilometers, the width, right, width is 500 kilometers in west and 200 kilometers in east. So 500 kilometers, the width of these Himalayas is 500 kilometers here in the western part, and whereas 200 kilometers in the eastern part, 200 kilometers in the eastern parts. And these particular Himalayas are divided by the parallel ranges. They are divided by many parallel ranges, and in these Himalayas there are many particular rivers are emerging, which are also called as perennial rivers or Himalayan rivers. Okay, so these Himalayas are divided by many particular parallel ranges. So we'll discuss about the parallel ranges in an elaborate way. As I told you that these Himalayas are divided by the parallel ranges, right? So let us know the parallel ranges of Himalayas. The first one is the Greater Himalayas, or it's also called as Himadri. Second one, the middle or the lower Himalayas, which is also called as a Himachal. The third one, that is the bottommost one, is the Shivaliks or the outer Himalayas. So first we'll discuss about the Greater Himalayas or Himadri. So these Greater Himalayas are the northernmost part of the Himalayas, right? And these particular Himalayas, they are composed. So Greater Himalayas are composed of ice and snow. So these Greater Himalayas are composed of ice and snow, and this helps in the formation of many perennial rivers such as like Ganga, Brahmaputra, Indus and their tributaries, all are formed from this particular Greater Himalayas. Why? Because these Himalayas are completely accumulated by the snow and ice, and when they melt, they form these largest rivers in India. These Greater Himalayas, right, there are many particular important ranges also are there, or biggest mountains or mountain ranges also are there. So the highest ranges formed here is, right, we can say the Mount Everest, which is 8,848 meters high, which is the highest peak in the whole world itself, isn't it? So there are many particular particular peaks are present in these Himalayas, and the average altitude of Greater Himalayas is 6,300 meters, right? So, sorry, 6,100 meters. So the average altitude of the Greater Himalayas is 6,100 meters. Means we can find the smallest ranges from 6,100 meters to 8,848 meters, that is Mount Everest. So there are many important we can say mountains are present in these Himalayas, or peaks we can find in these Himalayas, right? And not in that, the third most important is that glaciers are present, right, in these ranges. Glaciers are present in these ranges, like you can say right, many glaciers are formed here. That will talk in the next particular topic. So we discuss about the first parallel ranges of Himalayas, that is the Greater Himalayas or the Himadris. The second parallel ranges of Himalayas are the middle, the lesser Himalayas or the Himachal. So these are the foot of the Greater Himalayas. Now what is the importance of these? The importance is that it has an intricate system, means it has a complicated system of ranges. Complicated means there are so many particular ranges are present in this particular Himachal ranges, right? So, and they are up to from 60 to 80 kilometers wide, having an elevation varying from 3,500 meters to 4,500 meters above the mean sea level. MSL means mean sea level. So usually we measure the height of a place with the help of MSL by taking the from MS, that is mean sea level. So clearly says the width of these particular ranges is 60 to 80 kilometers, right? And whereas the average elevation is from 3,500 meters to 4,500 meters above the mean sea level. Then what are the important particular ranges present in these Himachal? The Pir Panjal ranges, the Dholadhar ranges, the Mussoorie ranges, the Nagthiba ranges, the Mahabharata Lake ranges, right? So these are some of the important ranges what we find in the middle or lesser Himalayas or the Himachal. Let's talk about Kashmir ranges. Kashmir is the longest range and the most important range which is present in this particular lesser Himalayas. Kashmir range is the longest range and the most important range present in the lesser Himalayas or the Himachal. Then between this particular Pir Panjal and the Zanskar ranges lies a famous particular valley called as Kashmir Valley. You might have heard about Kashmir Valley. Many people go there, right? When you say Kashmir, the apples, isn't it? They are fond of apples, right? So like that, Kashmir Valley, it lies between the Pir Panjal ranges and the Zanskar ranges with a distance of 135 kilometers in southeast to northwest direction, where it is present in the southeast and in the northwest directions, right, between these we can say the Pir Panjal and the Zanskar ranges. Talk about the important valley here, Kashmir Valley, which is also very broad, 40 kilometers wide and extended to an area of 4,921 square kilometers. So what is the total area of this particular Kashmir Valley? It is extended to 4,921 square kilometers and the width is around 40 kilometers. That is the broad of this Kashmir Valley. Then what is the average elevation present in this particular Himachal? That is 1,585 meters above the sea level. Hope you have understood about this particular topic of the middle or the lesser Himalayas. Then we'll continue the topic. So the average elevation in the Kashmir Valley was 1,585 meters above the sea level. So when talk more about this particular middle and lesser Himalayas, in the east of the lesser Himalayas, if you go to the, then we are last what we discussed about the southern part. Now we discuss about the eastern part. When we talk about the eastern part of the lesser Himalayas, they are marked by other ranges like Mussoorie ranges and the Nagthiba ranges. So these two ranges are present in the eastern part of the lesser Himalayas. Then what is the average elevation of this particular Mussoorie? So the average elevation present in Mussoorie is 2,000 meters to 2,600 meters and it runs over a distance of 120 kilometers from Mussoorie to Lansdowne. It runs at a distance of 120 kilometers from Mussoorie to Lansdowne. This is the average elevation and the distance. And this particular Mussoorie, it has some important hill stations also, right? Mussoorie is there, and Nainital is there, Chakrata is there, and Ranikhet is there. So these are some of the important hill stations what we find here in the lesser Himalayas. Right, and there are other particular hill stations also are there, resorts also are there present in the particular lesser Himalayas. What are there? Simla is there, right? That is also one important particular hill stations what you find. Darjeeling is present, which is present also in Himalayas, but Darjeeling is not present in Kashmir, my dear children. Darjeeling is present to the northernmost part of the West Bengal. It's the northern part, that is to the complete, if you take, right, this is Sikkim, right, and here, right, this is Nepal, here is Bihar, and here you find Darjeeling. So this is West Bengal. If you want to locate that in your textbook, right, it's very easier. Now this is Sikkim, right, and to the complete southern part, southwest of Sikkim, you find Darjeeling. So Darjeeling also is present in West Bengal. So these are some of the hill stations which are located in the Lesser Himalayas or Himachal. Hope you have understood the second parallel ranges of Himalayan ranges. Now next we'll go for the Shivaliks, the third and the last most of the parallel ranges of Himalayas. Okay, so we discussed about the two parallel ranges of Himalayas. One is the Greater Himalayas, which is also called as the Himadri. Second one, the Lesser Himalayas or the Middle Himalayas or the Lower Himalayas. We have discussed about it. And the third and the last most of the range of Himalayas is the Shivalik ranges or the Outer Himalayas. So these Himalayas or these particular ranges of Himalayas, it has a hogback like appearance due to its steep northern slope. Right, so here it has a very steep northern slope, very steep. You can see here is a very steep. Usually mountains are like this, but here if you see, it's a very steep slope. It has the appearance of these ranges is, right, so quite a very steep one, and it runs parallel to Lesser Himalayas. It runs parallel to Lesser Himalayas. From where the Lesser Himalayas starts, from there the Outer Himalayas also start. That is, the Shivaliks also start. For example, this is a Lesser Himalayas, right, and this is the Outer Himalayas. From where it starts, this also starts from there, and it right, covers a distance of 2,400 kilometers from Potwar Plateau to Brahmaputra Valley. From Potwar Plateau to Brahmaputra Valley. So where is Potwar Plateau? To the west of the India. And where is Brahmaputra Valley? To the east of India. That is in Assam and Arunachal Pradesh, we have the Brahmaputra Valley. Width of this Shivaliks, it varies from 50 kilometers in Himachal Pradesh to less than 15 kilometers in Arunachal Pradesh. The Greater Himalayas, the width is 500 kilometers and 200 kilometers. 500 kilometers in the west, 200 kilometers in the east. The Shivaliks, 50 kilometers in Himachal Pradesh, that is in the west, and 15 kilometers, less than 15 kilometers in Arunachal Pradesh, the width of the Shivaliks. And it has an unbroken succession of low hills except a gap of 80 to 90 kilometers by the valley of Teesta River. Now, where is Teesta River? Teesta River, right? Ghagra Teesta. Teesta is flowing in Assam. That is between Bay of Bengal and Assam. There flows the Teesta River. Okay, so this particular Shivaliks, it has an unbroken, it's not broken, unbroken succession of low hills. There are so many hills are there, continuous, right? So many hills are there without a gap, right, of 80 to 90 kilometers. Where it is present in the Teesta Valley, it is present, right? Then, what is the altitude? The altitude of Shivaliks varies from 600 meters to 1500 meters. Now, if you go back to the first one, Greater Himalayas, 6100 meters is the average altitude present in Greater Himalayas. Come to the Lesser Himalayas or the Middle Himalayas, 3500 meters to 4500 meters. But whereas here If you see the Shivalix, it is varying from 600 meters to 1500 meters above the sea level. Then what about there are so many particular valleys also are present in the Shivalix. And what are these valleys are called? They are called as dunes. They are called as dunes, right? So dunes are present, right, in the ranges of Shivalix, right? So dunes are present in the ranges of Shivalix. So what are dunes? Here you see is silt and sediments brought by the rivers get deposited in the lakes, and when these lakes, right, get overflow, so what happened, these particular rivers, they cut through this and form valleys. They form the valleys like V-shaped valleys. Can you see this? Between the lesser Himalayas and the Shivalix, we find there are valleys are present, valleys, right? You can see there are valleys are present. How these valleys are present? When the rivers flow from the mountain, they cut, right? Okay, for example, this is an area. So when the rivers flow from the mountain, what happens here? They cut it and they form these particular valleys. So the valleys between the lesser Himalayas and Shivalix are called as dunes. Examples of dunes. So what are the examples of dunes? I'll give you some examples of dunes also. What are the examples of dunes? So the examples of dune are Dehradun, Kotli Dun, Patli Dun. So these are some of the examples of the dunes here. So dunes are the valleys which are present between lesser Himalayas and Shivalix. So what are dunes? Dunes are the valleys which are present between lesser Himalayas and Shivalix. Examples of the dunes: Dehradun, Potli Dun, Kotli Dun. So these are some of the examples of the dunes which are present between the lesser Himalayas and the Shivalix. Okay, hope you have understood the definition of dunes, the examples of it, and how they were formed. Okay, so when talk about these particular Himalayas, right? So these Himalayas, they run from Jammu and Kashmir to Arunachal Pradesh. They run from Jammu and Kashmir to Arunachal Pradesh. So these particular Himalayas, they form the eastern boundaries in Brahmaputra. So the eastern boundary of Himalayas is present in the Brahmaputra valley, and there, right, what happens is that this particular Himalayas, they take a hairpin bend. They take a hairpin bend. Have you seen the hairpin? Usually the women, they use a hairpin bend. Hairpin. Have you seen that? It looks like this, right? Have you seen this hairpin? They use it, right, for keeping the flowers, etc., etc. So how this actually happens is, so the Himalayas, okay, I'll draw the particular diagram and show you. Okay, first we'll complete the points over here. So these Himalayas, they form the eastern boundary, protecting the northeastern states like Arunachal Pradesh, Nagaland, Manipur, Mizoram, Tripura, right? So these all particular states, northeastern states, are protected by the eastern boundary of Himalayas, and this particular, right, divisions is known as Purvanchal. It's known as Purvanchal, and this particular Purvanchal, again, what is Purvanchal here? These are hills. Purvanchal is nothing but the hills which is formed by the Himalayas, right? So this Purvanchal is completely composed of sedimentary sandstones. They are formed by the sedimentary sandstone. They are completely composed of. And regionally, this Purvanchal is also known as Patkai Hill. That's why I said Purvanchal is also known as hills. Right? There are many hills are there. So Patkai Hills. So Purvanchal is also known as hills. What are the hills are there? Patkai Hills, Naga Hills, Manipuri Hills, Kashi Hills, and Mizo Hills. So these are the different particular hills which are formed by the eastern boundary of Himalayas. Okay, I will show you with the diagram. So Patkai Hills, as I said, these particular Himalayas which are formed in a arc shape. Can you see this Himalaya? They are formed in the arc shape. So they take a hairpin bend here. They take a hairpin bend like this. They take a hairpin bend. Okay. So they take a hairpin bend forming the eastern boundary. They forming the eastern boundary. Just like I told you, hairpin, right? They form the eastern boundary, protecting the northeastern states from the neighboring country. So this particular eastern boundary is also called as Purvanchal. It is called as Purvanchal, but the regionally, right, it is also called as Patkai Hills. Patkai Hills it is called as. So what are the different type of hills are present? Here Naga Hills or Nag Hills, right? Next come down here Manipuri Hills. Down here we have Mizo Hills. Here this is Khasi Hill. This is called as Khasi Hills. So these are the different hills, right, which are the eastern boundaries of Himalayas, which forms the eastern boundary of Himalayas. Okay, in your textbook, if you look at the textbook, on the page number 8, look at the following ranges in the physical map of India. Now I have shown you where are the particular hills are there. Now here what is asking is hills, right, which particular states they are located in, which state or states they are located in. For example, Purvanchal. Now Purvanchal means what? Patkai Hills, right? So which particular state or state? It is states. It is a states. States of Arunachal Pradesh, Nagaland, Manipuri and Mizoram. So Purvanchal, Patkai Hills. We can just make it as a same. Next, Naga Hills. Naga Hills are present in Nagaland. Next, Manipuri Hills. Where is Manipuri Hills present? In Manipur. Okay, so these are the various particular hills which are present, and you have to write down that in your textbook, which is given in, okay, on the page number 8. Just go through it once. Purvanchal, which is the eastern boundary of Himalayas, is also regionally called as Patkai Hills, and these hills are known as Naga Hills, Manipuri Hills, Mizo Hills, Khasi Hills, etc. So we have discussed about the 3 ranges of Himalayas: the Greater Himalayas, the Lesser Himalayas and the Shivaliks. So you might have understood about it very clearly. And the last we are going to discuss about the Himalayas is the importance of Himalayas. Imagine if Himalayas are not there, what will happen to Indian climate? And what will happen to the Indian agriculture? Isn't it? What will happen? Just imagine, just think about it. Finish thinking? Yes. If Himalayas are not there, what happens? Usually we see the northern part right? Above the northern part, what do we see, right? Complete Arctic circle is there. From there, the cold winds which are blowing, cold winds, right? Cold winds which are blowing, right? What happens? The whole northern part of India will become dry. They'll become completely dry. They'll be covered with snow. And when it is covered with snow, can we grow any kind of crops? No. Vegetation will not grow, right? So this will happen in the absence of Himalayas. One more, in the absence of Himalayas, what about the rivers? Rivers will not be formed. Why? Because completely, right, it will be covered with snow. So melting also may not take place. So these problems may arise. That's what. Today, when talk about the importance of Himalayas, these Himalayas, they are protecting us from the cold winds which are coming from the Central Asia. And not in that, this particular Himalayas, they influence the Indian climate. The whole Indian climate is influenced by the Himalayas, the greater Himalayas. Northern part have a different climate. The southern part have a different climate. Why? It is because of the Himalayas. Next, reasons for summer rains and monsoon type of climate. That is also because of the Himalayas. In summer also, in some particular parts of our country, we receive rainfall. It is due to the Himalayas. So what is the Himalayas are doing? These Himalayas, right? Usually we say Himalayas, right? These are the Himalayas. So when these particular winds which are blowing from different particular directions, it may be from the west direction or from the east direction, these Himalayas, they stop these winds. Now these winds contain what you call as a clouds. So clouds we can say which contains water in it. So when they come across this Himalayas, they cool down and fall as rain. So Himalayas are also a reason for summer and monsoon type of climate. Next, many Himalayan rivers, right, which flow from the Himalayas are perennial rivers. Perennial means what? Which flow continuously throughout the year. Like Indus is there. Indus, Ganga, right? And next is Brahmaputra. Brahmaputra. This is the river Brahmaputra. Right? All these rivers, they emerge from the Himalayas, right? And they are flowing in different directions and they are ending up in seas. These rivers, they flow continuously throughout the year. And there are many tributaries also are there for these particular Himalayan rivers. For Indus, right? Chenab, Jhelum, Ravi, Beas, Satluj. For Ganga, Teesta is there. Then we have Son, Chambal, Damodar. So many particular, right? And for Brahmaputra also, Dihang is there, Dibang is there. Then we have Lohit is there. So many particular, what you call as perennial rivers or tributaries are flowing from these Himalayan regions. And whatever the silt is brought by these particular rivers, it is deposited here, and it has led to the formation of the plains. The Indo-Gangetic plains, the largest plains in the whole world, is present in India. And this particular Indo-Gangetic plain has been formed by the three major rivers, Indus, Ganga and Brahmaputra. Hope you have understood the importance of Himalayas. And if you talk more importance of Himalayas, Himalayas help us in getting more foreign exchange also. How can I say foreign exchange? Yes, tourism is there, right? Development of tourism. Many valleys are there, hill stations are there. Many people, they come to our country, right? They visit these particular valleys, and this helps in tourism and in foreign exchange also. Many evergreen forests are present here in Himalayas, and these evergreen forests also are helpful in giving us medicinal plants, fruits, etc., etc. Okay, so this is what is about the first relief features of India, that is Himalayas. We'll go for the next topic, that is the second relief feature of India, Indo-Gangetic Plains.